Hey everybody, Dog8798 here. This is my review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I saw it yesterday. I was too sick to review it, too tired and sick to review it yesterday. And for some reason my webcam seems to work better closer to at night, in the evenings and tonight than it does during the day. And with that being said, I saw the movie and I enjoyed the movie. Was enjoyable, but this movie sucked, man. My God, it was terrible. It was just as bad as I thought it was gonna be. The film did have some good stuff, though. Of course, the two of the main reasons I was coming to see this film was number one, Jamie Foxx as Electro. I love how they redid Electro, man. And of course Harry Osborn. Of course, I don't like Harry Osborn's character in this film, but I do love the new badass updated suit they gave him. That's pretty badass. I've always thought the metallic muscle tan armor suits they have in the Spider-Man movies was always better than the Halloween costume we see in the comics and cartoon. And of course, the action and stunt work. As I predicted when I saw the trailers, the film was gonna be cheesy, campy, juvenile. Despite the fact that this is supposed to be a much more serious version of Spider-Man, it was gonna be a crappy teen romance drama instead of a straightforward action film with a good story and characters. Everything was going to be shown. Everything was going to be crammed in. And of course, the biggest disappointment I had with this movie, of course, is Rhino. They took the man beast Rhino, who is a big muscular man in a Rhino suit. They gave him a horrible Russian accent, and they put him in a fucking mecha robot transformer type suit instead of the muscular costume like Spider-Man or fucking Juggernaut from the X-Men. That's what I think of when I think Rhino. And of course, he was barely even in the film. It's mostly about Spider-Man, Electro, and what's the other guy's name? Harry Osborn. Like I said, this film was crap. Everything I just said was in this movie. The first problem I had with this movie was false advertising. This is the same problem I had with Amazing Spider-Man. We got to go back to the first one, Amazing Spider-Man. When I saw the leak shots of the Amazing Spider-Man back in 2010, I was actually excited for it. I was actually excited for a reboot. As much as I love Raimi films, I don't think they were the best ever, and I thought they fucked up by killing off Venom. So they needed to be a reboot. And then when I saw the leak shots of Andrew Garfield in the costume, it looked just like the Amazing Spider-Man. Then of course I see the trailers and I see this Twilight Batman Begins Ultimate Spider-Man garbage. They should have just called this Ultimate Spider-Man instead of calling this Amazing Spider-Man, because there's more from the Ultimate Universe than there is from the Amazing Spider-Man universe. And I do not like the Ultimate Spider-Man. I never liked them redrawing Spider-Man smaller and skinnier. I didn't like the changes in backstories to several characters. Yeah, I didn't like that comic, man. Wanted the Amazing Spider-Man. If you're gonna take stuff from Ultimate, call it Spider-Man. Call it the Spider-Man 2012 or 14 or something, or call it the Ultimate Spider-Man. Don't put Amazing Spider-Man. Call it Ultimate, so I know to avoid this film. And then of course so that's number one problem I have is false advertising. And of course the Rhino character I just described. That's in the Ultimate version. Him in a metallic suit, except his metallic suit still looks better in the Ultimate. But this crappy metallic suit, metal transformer mecha type suit, that's in the Ultimate comics. That's in the Ultimate comics. That's not in the Amazing comics. Amazing comics. So that's number one. Number two, the number two problem is, yes, too many characters. Too many characters in this film. Now usually I like this. I like the idea of adding as many characters as possible, because films like Spider-Man, Spider-Man and other films like, I guess, like Nolan's Batmans, they drag on for like a long time, man, and they get boring. So you need other characters and other stuff going on. You need as many villains as possible. And I love Batman and Robin, 3 bad guys. I love Spider-Man 3 bad guys. Spider-Man 3 is actually, I think the Spider-Man 3 was the best of that trilogy. Was the best of Sam Raimi trilogy, except excluding the end. But yeah, so I like the idea of having 3 bad guys, but no, this film should have been exclusively focused on Rhino and focused on Electro. It should have been shorter, which is the next problem, the pacing. My God, this film is like 2 hours and 30-something minutes long, man. It drags on. I told you, Andrew Garfield, which is the next problem I have with this film. Andrew Garfield, he sucks as Spider-Man. He doesn't capture Peter Parker's Spider-Man's character. Spider-Man is supposed to be a pushover, a geek, a guy you throw sand at, you pick at. This guy is a show-off, is a cocky show-off, and looks like one of the jocks who would be bullying Peter, and not Spider-Man with his crappy, messy hair. I know that's in the Ultimate version, but that is not in the original. He should have a low haircut. Look at the way he comes in, walking all casually to his graduation. Man, that ain't Peter Parker, man. God, man, told you, man. God, Andrew Garfield, who portrays Peter Parker with his cocky, show-off, nerdy, bad boy type guy. That ain't Peter, man. That ain't Peter. God. Supposed to be a nerd and a pushover. If he didn't get Spider-Man powers like one of the movie reviewers on here said, I can't remember his name, but he said, yeah, if he didn't have Spider-Man powers, he'd be an accountant. Well, yeah, what's his name? Crap, man. Atrocious jokes, terrible jokes, and he jokes in every situation. He jokes in the scene where they're trying to calm down Electro, man. Spider-Man is usually serious in scenes like that. He's still here cracking jokes, man. Cracking jokes and making it worse. And he did make it worse. So, yeah, that's the next problem, is the pacing. If they would have made it shorter, more action instead of this crappy romance, yes. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy is awesome. That's the one thing better from this trilogy than the Sam Raimi trilogy. Sam Raimi trilogy is Gwen Stacy is awesome as Emma Stone is awesome as Gwen Stacy, but Andrew Garfield sucks, and the romance scenes between them are just terrible. It's worse than it was in the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. No chemistry, and of course, going back to what's his name, but they try to be a crappy teen romance with some action mixed in. Another problem I have is it's pretentious. It tries to be bigger than it really is. It tries to be all deep. It tries to be all deep and philosophical, but it just comes off as being a load of crap. Then, of course, in Spider-Man, in my opinion, is not that big. It's not that big. It's not that big. It should not be trying to be as big as it should be. And then, of course, another problem I have with it, going back to the pretentiousness, is that what was I gonna say next? Yeah, so yeah, like I say, it's pretentious. I keep forgetting what I was gonna say next, so I'm just gonna move on to the next point until I remember what I was gonna say there. But yeah, next problem is Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn being in this movie. Harry Osborn should not have even been in this movie. His backstory was terrible, was different from the comics. Yeah, I will compare it to the comics. this time. I will compare it to the comics this time, even though it's, like I said before, as much as I love them to stick to the source material, it's how these things do on their own. Because most of the adaptations may never stick close to their series, always deviate from it. But this right here was just terrible. Peter Parker and Harry Osborn were best friends for life. They had this crappy backstory about them being best friends until Harry was sent to border school, and Harry is now the head of Oscorp, and Norman Osborn is dead. Is dead, and Harry is dying too from the same illness, and he needs Spider-Man's DNA to survive. Crap! Garbage! Harry Osborn should have been in the first movie. He was Peter Parker's best friend. He should have been in the first movie. And his character would have been developed there. And here, Sam Raimi's did this better. And they actually followed the comics, of course. Norman Osborn presumably gets killed. And Harry Osborn later figures out Peter Parker and Spider-Man are one and tries to kill him and tries to take revenge by killing him. Told you, crap. Then the next one. What is the next one? What is the next problem I have with this freaking movie? Norman Osborn being dead and dying. Where is this from? Where's that from? Dying on his deathbed. They should have just focused on Electro and Rhino, man. Rhino was barely in this film. He shows up for a cheesy fight scene with Spider-Man earlier with that horrible Russian accent. I am killer. A horrible Russian accent. Then of course later on in the film, he shows up at the end with this dumb kid, walks up into the street with the Spider-Man costume and mask on, where he can get killed by what's his name? Then of course Rhino opens up his suit, which what Tribe Review said opens him up to gunfire from the police, and says, "I am Rhino, and we fight now." Something like that, and this ends with both of them fighting. Just crap, man. Just crap. But let's get to the good stuff. Love Electro. I love Jamie Foxx's Electro. Jamie Foxx in the beginning was more Peter Parker than Andrew Garfield was, and he was such a good character, but his character, like Tribe Review said, was rushed. He became a megalomaniac in under several minutes. He became a freaking megalomaniac in under several minutes. When Spider-Man when he got electro powers, why didn't he just leave the city or try to become a hero? He immediately became a bad guy. Saying that he wants the people to respect him. He immediately became a megalomaniac bad guy in just under several minutes. And then of course, like I said, I talked about how much Harry sucked. And they just did this. They just put all these characters in there because they wanted to sell more merchandise, wanted to sell more toys, and set up a fucking Sinister Six movie. How about you focus on your first two films first? It was better than the last one, Amazing Spider-Man. The only thing I like about that was the lizard and some action sequences. But this right here was much better, but it was still just garbage. It deserves the 53% on Rotten Tomatoes and getting lower. It deserves to. It still made most of his money back, but it deserves to be a box office disappointment. It deserves to make less money. Because this movie was crap. This movie was garbage. What else about this film? Yeah, going back to the pretentiousness, man. That's what really pissed me off, man. Like I said, I hate when films try to be deep and philosophical and try to preach to me. It always comes off as a load of crap. Stop trying to make things that big. Everything tries to be like this Watchmen or fucking Mad Max. It just comes off as a load of crap. You get lots of overacting, cheesy overacting. It's supposed to be deep, but it's not. It's just a load of crap. And I hate movies like that. I prefer them to be dumb, funny action flicks with with good stories, with good script, with decent to good scripts and some good stunt work and good stunt work and action. Stop trying to make things as bigger than they were. I don't want things to be juvenile like that Three Ninjas crap, like that Transformers Michael Bay crap, or like this juvenile Amazing Spider-Man or Dragon Ball Z garbage. No, none of that juvenile stuff, man. But yeah, what's his name? And like I said, yeah, this film was just garbage. Was just garbage. The stuff I loved was Jamie Foxx's Electro. He was awesome as Electro. He was like a combination of Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, Freeze from Batman, for Mr. Freeze from Batman, James Monsters, DB Evolution Piccolo, and of course the Sith from Star Wars and Darth Maul. He even sounds like Darth Maul in DBE, Dragon Ball Evolution, Lord Piccolo, man. He was awesome in this film. He was awesome in this film. His lines, I love the dubstep, something. I love that dubstep. That was awesome. The fight scenes and fight choreography, all that was awesome. That was pretty much what I came for. The team up of Harry Osborn as the new Goblin, as Green Goblin, and what's the guy's name? And Electro fighting Spider-Man. Which brings me to our next point. I forgot about this. Gwen Stacy. Yeah, Gwen Stacy. Of course, they learned nothing from the first film. In the first film, Gwen Stacy's father told Peter to stay away from her to ensure her safety. Peter Parker is still trying to get together with her in this movie. Is still trying, despite the obvious danger. Then come the end, when Peter Parker tells Stacy to stay, waves her to the car to stay while he takes care of Electro. Gwen Stacy comes like an idiot. Gwen Stacy comes and endangers the mission. What use was she in the fight against Electro? Of course, I guess she did help Spider-Man defeat Electro. But what use was she against Electro, man? Told you, she was putting Spider-Man and innocent people in harm. She was putting Spider-Man in harm's way. And then of course, when Electro's defeated, instead of getting the hell out of there, she comes to embrace Peter, which allows Green Goblin to chase her and kill Gwen Stacy. Just like this part was just like the comics, but it was much better in the comics. Like Tribe Review said, in the Witch's Name, it was something about the Goblin, Norman, I think, losing his memory as the Goblin, and somehow getting it back and somehow deducing that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Then of course he goes to Spider-Man's house. He goes to Peter Parker's house looking for Spider-Man. Instead, he finds Gwen Stacy. And attacks her, and of course she gets killed just like the way she got killed in the film. But it made more sense in the comics. Here, I still felt sorry for Gwen Stacy when she died, but you can't feel sorry for her. You can't help but mock it because it was Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker being idiots. Gwen Stacy coming to the battlefield, and like Tribe Review said, he doesn't learn anything. Well, this was my rant on Spider-Man. Then of course she dies. So one of the better things about this franchise is that was Gwen Stacy. She was way better than Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane in Sam Raimi's trilogy. So now she's dead, and I got to put up with Andrew Garfield in the sequels and spinoffs. Then of course, so I got to put up with him and what's his name. If Electro and this Green Goblin will be in more movies, I will be watching. What you call it, so I could tear them apart. But yeah, man, this film was crap. And then, like what you call said, this film just exists to sell toys. I know that's the what's his name selling merchandise, but that was all they were here for. So they could and set up Sinister Six and Venom spinoffs, man. Focus on your first movies first. Focus on your fucking first movies first instead of trying to use fan bait, having vulture wings, Doc Ock's arms, trying to get people to watch this stuff. So focus on your first stuff instead of relying on fan bait to get people to come to the theaters. My God, man, screw Mark Webb and Sony. Marvel does need to get their rights back and do Spider-Man right. All right, dog out.